Good day, everyone. So today I will be discussing Unit 8 since the last week and the last week I have given you already the quizzes on, I think, until lesson 2. So for now, it's because we don't have so much time to discuss already. And then next week, dili pud ta kamit because it's holiday. That's February 25. And today, 18, we have so much to talk with, to do with. We have a Zoom also. And then for this time, I will be discussing the Unit 8, which is under sa Unit 8 natay Lesson 1, which focuses on sports training under aerobic and anaerobic. Then sports training and aerobic training, muscle training, and then bone strengthening. Okay, so let's start with an overview on the sports preparation. So, di ba, I've given you chances we discussed already the basics of badminton, basketball as part of team sports. The other one is individual dual sports and the kinds of sports that probably pwede niyo mabuhat. So sometimes, however, sports require preparation, then organization, then natay natawag na standards for training. And aside from that, security safety measures, especially for the youth who are engaged in it, especially kamo. So this will provide positive and better sporting experiences. And this may be achieved of your goals in sports. Basically, what are your goals? Top priority when you do sports, makadaog jud siya. And then the second priority with it is to become physically fit individual. So this unit, it will help us explain and provide you understanding on what are the safety measures nga inyong buhaton before mo engage into sports. What are the things you will do during the sports and after sports training or any athletic events. So we will start with lesson 1, sports training, aerobic and anaerobic. Okay. We all know that training is characterized as teaching or sometimes it develops our skills and knowledge as a person or as an individual. So basically, before ta mo adto or budula og isa ka sports, it requires an individual para mas mahasa mo, you undergo training because it will help you improve your physical performance at the same time achieve nato ang atong ginaset na goals, which is una makadaog sa dula, and then aside from that maging physically fit. Okay, so para ma-improve or ma-achieve ni nga improvement, whether our goal is physical, emotional, or social, it is a good way that we should be done the sports training accordingly. So, di ba, what's our main goal here in physical education? It's prevention is better than cure. So, unya pa ba dayta mo, if nanay mga incident may tabo, mga bali na yung bukog. So, whereas, we do have chances naman to learn how to avoid those. So therefore, proper sports training follows a specific training method based on the skills nga gusto nato ma-improve. Okay, so we have here aerobic training. When we say aerobic training class, kasi if we combine aerobic and anaerobic training in physical activities, our training is more effective. So before performing this one, we need to understand first what is aerobic training and how it differs from anaerobic training. Okay, when we say aerobic training, it's having low to moderate intensity needed for endurance and recovery for the removal of lactic acid. We all know, class, na ang reason why ginapamaulan ta is that the production of lactic acid. Kaya it requires you nga before ka modula og any sports like basketball, volleyball, unsa pa dira mag-jogging ka, you need to perform warm up. Nganuman kay during warm up, your body produces glycogen, and that glycogen kining ginalabanan niya ng what we call lactic acid. And kana bitong pag dili mo mag-warm up, tas mukalit ra mo jogging, or mukalit ra mo og dagan-dagan or exercise without warm up, after ana pamaulan man mo no. So pislito ninyo yung muscle na ana siya yung mga muscle pains na ma-feel ninyo. That's because of lactic acid and the cause of inability to perform warm up before exercise. And that's the focus now of aerobic training. For example, jogging, a little warm up, endurance training. So aerobic should be rhythmical and prolonged and the range of maximum heart rate between 60 to 85% and usually use large muscle groups. Which are the large muscle group? Unsang pinakadako nga muscles atong lawas? The first one is the gluteus maximus. Where can we find the gluteus maximus? Gluteus maximus class si term ano kanang diri sa batang good nga muscle mao na ang what we call gluteus maximus, and that's pinakauna di ba pamaulan sa atua. And aside from that is the biceps, the triceps, the trapezius area and diri sa likod nato. Those are the larger group of muscles nga pinakauna mapamaulan when dili na to siya maagapan before, di ta ka perform og aerobic training. So performing aerobic training may improve our endurance first, dili ta dali hangakon, cardiovascular fitness, and lung capacity. This is very important, especially sa mga asthmatic person nga maka-feel sila dali hangakon, gamay lang nga butang hangakon dayon sila. Aside anang suguon niya hangakon, that's kini other cases na. But if kanang dali lang kahangakon jud, even gamay nga physical activity, suguon lang ka magkuha og silhig, hangakon na ka. So that's something problematic under your cardiovascular fitness and then your lung capacity. So you need to improve your aerobic training, or you need to focus on the exercise or the training that focuses on aerobic. So on the other hand, anaerobic naman had high intensity training, and that was needed for short and explosive bursts of activity. What are examples of this? Heidelin Diaz. Tama ba? Katong gold medalist sa weightlifting. Heidelin yung exercise training focuses on anaerobic training, meaning katong intensive training and needed for a short period of time. Alsahon niya tong 100 kilos or what we call explosive burst activity. So, ang percentage niya sa maximum heart rate diri will be around or close to 85%. So, doing anaerobic training may improve your muscular strength and lactic acid tolerance, meaning you can strengthen your muscles here, makadaog na kag duha ka sako nga bugas, if you will consistently perform this or you focus your training in anaerobic. So that's what's the difference of aerobic and anaerobic. So in aerobic, it's the use of kanang a long period, it's more into endurance training. And ang anaerobic naman, it's more on muscular strength training. Okay, however, ang anaerobic training requires aerobic training also to intensify an aerobic training. Kaya before ka na mga nasa gym, prior to lifting weights, nagaano sa sila, kining pahangin sa sila. Kasi it requires aerobic training muna. And then consider also having rest and naapod tayo recovery period. Dili pwede nga magsige na lang tag exercise training without having rest and without letting our body or muscles in a recovery period. Okay? So training methods naman, here are the table below that can be used in the preparation for sports training or most training programs. The first one is weight training. What is the characteristic of weight training? Usually, it involves series of exercises na nag-focus on specific muscle groups in our body. Like for example, upper extremities. If you want to develop upper extremities, meaning sa babaw ng area sa mong lawas, you want to develop your chest area, your biceps and triceps area, then you will focus on weight training. Other side, kung gusto ka mo dagko imong paa, imong bagta, you will ano muna with resistance or load by the use of machine or even free weights. So what its effect sa weight training class? It improves muscular strength, tapos muscular endurance, matone imong body, and posture also. So it increases muscular size, bone density, and then metabolic rate also will, it has something to do with your metabolic rate. Other one is circuit training. When we talk about circuit training, this one is series of exercises or activities which uh, each one taking place at the different station. When I enrolled in the Cube, remember the Cube nga fitness gym sa Panabo. When I enrolled there, I started on September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So I enrolled there for 7 months. And then what we usually do is circuit training. Na mga stations. For this station, alsahon to nimong 50 kilos na sandbag, and then you will perform, while nag-aalsa ka 50 kilos, you will perform uh, repetitions of uh, 10 to 15 repetitions. Then after you proceed, you run 50 meters na pod, then balik na pod ka, you ano na pod, the dumbbells na pod, perform na pod ka og burpees. Burpees is combination of jump, push up, and jump, push up na po, jump, push up. Okay, that's what we call circuit training na yung mga station. So each station involves an exercise aimed at specific muscle group in the body. So unsa atong mga effects ani if you will perform circuit training also. Ang muscle group alternate between work and recovery to allow lactic acid and dispersal. Its opposing muscle groups are work for balance and improves general muscular strength, endurance, muscle tone, and posture. At the same time, increases bone density, metabolic rate, and decreases body fat percentage. Okay, next, interval training. When we talk about interval training naman, involves alternating, nag-alternate siya between fixed periods of exercise and fixed periods of rest for the light exercise. Okay, for this one, kani siya nga period diri heavy exercises, then alternate na pod ka og light exercise na pod. Rest lang sa, then balik na pod ka sa heavy exercise. That's what we call interval training. So for recovery, careful planning is needed to match the duration of intensity of exercise, and then the intensity of exercise and recovery of the level of fitness of individual. Kaya natin ginatawag na principle of individuality. Later on, we will be talking on that principles. Running and swimming are some sports appropriate and effective for this method. Okay, fartlek training. Some of you, this is first time to hear this fartlek training. Ang difference ani between this and interval is ang ilahalang intensity and the type of exercise here. Ang effect niya sa fartlek training, it's effective for sports like running and swimming and cycling also. Pwede po siya improve your aerobic and anaerobic fitness, and then increases your metabolic rate. Tapos, it decreases your fat percentage naman. Continuous training, it's different for interval training. Kani siya na ay long tapos low distance exercise or LSD at a constant rate without rest. I remember my gym body, kami, because our endurance is that medyo ano pa man ang kilos ba. Tapos my gym body was, I think he's around 90 to 100 kilos siya. Tapos, our coach suggested him nga dili siya mag-join sa amua og jogging because among intensity is pas-pas, tapos makatuyok nami sa park good kini 5 to 6 in 30 minutes, pero in 15 minutes I mean. Tapos siya medyo hang siya, so dito siya sa kaning continuous training, like example ani is katong slow pace lang siya, like dili po siya dagan, dili siya jogging pud kaayo, dili po siya walking. It's like brisk walking. Pero wala siya undang-undang. Kami mo paspas og dagan pag makahuman mid 10 ka rounds, rest me. Tapos balik na after 2 minutes laga na po. Ang continuous training without rest ni siya. Humano niya, hinay lang siya pero slow-paced siya, meaning like brisk walking. When we talk about brisk walking, how do we differ brisk walking from the other walking exercises and jogging exercises? Pag makita ninyo nga, medyo wala man siya naglakaw, pero wala po siya nag-jogging. That's what we call brisk walking. So, it improves aerobic fitness and increases metabolic rate and decreases body fat percentage. Like for example, in athletics, natay sprint nga ginatawag. Paspas kay siya pero along with 100 meter lang, 200 meter lang. Pero unlike sa jogging po, dugay siya maabot pero ay nahinay. Kaya ang technique mostly sa athletics, pag pinakauna, dili pa nila paspas mudagan sila. Labi na pag 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters, hinahinayin sa nila hantod, kapuyon man ang uban, ang technique, kapuyon din sila. So sila, dili pa kapuyon, kaya hinahinay lang sila, pero wala sila undangay. So inaana ang continuous training also. Pressure training is a combination of skills and fitness. It represents the actual game. And this one, a footballer, basketball player may practice as well, dribbling, shooting over a set distance and a set number of times in a set time. Okay. So in conducting physical training class, the following guiding principles may be considered in designing sports program. Natay ginatawag na principle of specificity. When we talk about principle of specificity, if your goal is magka-abs, then your training should focus on your core area. Lain pag kayo nga imong goal is magka-abs tapos magsige ka og squat. Probably pwede po siya, pero what are those examples? Jogging, endurance training man gud na siya. That focuses on cardiovascular. So if you need to identify specific type of exercise para ma-achieve nimo ang imong specific desired goal. So if you're sports training for basketball, you would probably focus on training on endurance and power. Nganong man? Because in basketball, dili pwede nga dali nga ako because magdagandagan man siya, change of direction. And of course, we need also here power. Principle of overload naman class. This one is training daw should increase the intensity level from minimum to high in order to improve and meet extra demands to our body. Okay. So for example, your exercise, gusto ka magka-abs. Okay, so your exercise for week 1, nag-sit-ups ka, nag-perform ka og sit-ups nga butang nato 10 repetitions per session. Okay, 10 reps. Tas each reps na ay 25 kabuok. So inana siya. So for example, what principle of overload means is that you should increase the intensity. So dapat kung kani nga adlaw 10 repetition lang ka, dapat for next day 15 na siya, for the next day 20 na siya. Because pag 10-10-10 lang siya always, wala siya, dili na to ma-apply ang principle of overload. So wala intensity level nga nahitabo, meaning from minimum to high in order for you to improve and then ma-meet nimo ang extra demands for your body to adapt. Okay, kaya kung magsigira kag 10 push up, 10 curl ups, at the end of the time, nasa minimal improvement pero dili nimo makita jud tong extra demand nimo sa imong body nga gusto nimo ma-adapt. So this can be done by increasing the intensity and frequency and the duration of the activity also. That's what we call principle of overload. Now, the principle of progression talks about progress, meaning dapat na ay nag-progress. When the body naka-adapt na siya sa training nga gihatag nimo sa imong lawas on the new level of fitness, it is said that there is progress already. So it can be achieved through a gradual increase in intensity to create an overload. So according to the source, there is an important information daw regarding the progression of an athlete. Okay, according to here, most progress is made in early stages. So at higher levels of fitness, there is less progress naman, 'di ba? basically pag tambok ka tapos mapapayat ka, so makita dyan mo ang pinakadako nga progress. Pag payat na ka, gamay na lang ang progress. Dili naman a plateau may be reached where further progression to a higher level of fitness is difficult to achieve. Okay. Kaning ginatawag na plateau class kanang for example sige raw exercise ay pero wala nagbag-o imong timbang around 61 62 balik-balik lang siya diraa pero pila na kakabulan, meaning your body undergone the process of what we call plateau. Okay, so kaya according here, most progress is made in the early stages and at higher level na na fitness, there is less progress na. So pag ma-reach na to nimong plateau level, kato na siyang progression to higher level is difficult na to achieve. When we talk about principle of reversibility, kani, the effects of training are considered to be reversible or changeable. If ang exercise is in reduce in intensity or stop completely, ang katong benefits will be quickly lost. This is what always happen sa mga tao nga naga-perform of exercises tapos kapuyo na siya. Then the principle of reversibility will takes place na. Siyempre na naman tong progression unta na ni less na iyang timbang from 65 na less na og 62. Then makaya na niya mag-push up og 20 to kining 20 to 50 per time. Okay. Pero pag ni-stop na siya dira, bubalik ang capacity sa iyang lawas. Kaya syempre, kapoy na sila, unmotivated, sa pa diha mga reasons or factors that might affect the exercise program or exercise training. So, reversibility will take place. Okay, so dapat maiwasan nato ng principle of reversibility. Naatay ginatawag na deteriorations can set after about 1 week. Mag-deteriorate yung mga lawas. Ang strength nimo, ang speed are gradually lost with muscles losing their tone and size. And that's what we call atrophy. Remember this one. Ang term ng deteriorations that set in after about 1 week, the strength and the speed are gradually lost with muscles losing their tone of size and size is what we call atrophy. Okay? So, they say in PE, wala tayong mathematics, but we have here math also. So, precautions and tips before designing and conducting sports training. So, first is that dapat we know already our maximum heart rate. Tapos, we know what is RHR. Okay, natay formula diri to get our maximum heart rate and to get our training heart rate. Okay. So, ang MHR method and HRR method, natay ginatawag na THR, how to get our training heart rate or THR. Okay, natay formula diri MHR times the desired range na to. What percent? Okay, for example, sir, how do we get or how do we identify, sir, our MHR or what we call maximum heart rate? Okay, simple lang class. You will subtract lang your age from 220. So MHR is equals to 220 minus your age. For example, your age is 15 years old. Tapos i-minus nato na dito sa 220. 220 minus 15 is 205. Therefore, your maximum heart rate is 205. What do we mean by maximum heart rate pala? Ang kaning maximum heart rate class, this is the pinakataas na nga heart rate na pwede nimo ma-feel when performing very strenuous activity. So, grabe ka nang hangak na jud kay ka, mo na kinapaspasan na imong heart rate. So, the more magkatigulang, the more magkababa ang maximum heart rate because the formula of getting maximum heart rate is subtracting the 220 to our age. So, for example, 70 years old na ka, then minus nato na dito sa 220, so that's 150. So ang imong maximum heart rate na kung 70 years old na ka is 150 na lang. So magkababa siya because magkababa man po na ilang capacity sa lawas na to when we get older. Okay, so this is how we get training heart rate. Now, desired range is percentage lang na siya, 90%, 60%, or 0.60. Ang THR naman, or training heart rate, how do we get our other way of THR? Pwede nimo i-minus sa nimo ang maximum heart rate nimo to resting heart rate. Diba? You know already how to get the maximum heart rate. Now, how can we get, sir, pala the resting heart rate? When the resting heart rate, kuhaon nimo na during sa tawag ani after day nimo mumata. Okay, because during ka nag-sleep, nag-rest man ka, so wala ka gibuhat nga physical activity. Wala ka gibuhat nga physical activity. Therefore, pag mata nimo, kuhaon day nimo ang resting heart rate diha. Then multiply nimo na sa desired heart range nimo and then your resting heart rate. So anyhow, it's very important nga kabalo ka mokuha sa imong maximum heart rate. Nakuha? Because kaning nga formula will help you compute on your training heart rate and be guided in considering the sports training also that you will be conducting. So for safety purposes, remember that training is close to one's maximum heart rate should be done with care and ask for medical advice also. Okay, so the signal is back. We're done already with the getting maximum heart rate. So, by the way, why it is 220? Because it's constant, 220. Nganong constant man ang 220 sa formula sa maximum heart rate? Because during sa pag-anak sa bata, ang pinaka paspas na heart rate, the constant there is 220. So kaya it's constant ang 220 sa formula sa maximum heart rate. Okay. The second one is what we called warming up prepares the body for the activity. So this is very important kasi it helps us fight against lactic acid and then para malikayan na to ang mga pamaol also. So sample warm-up activity, this format, steady jogging for 10 minutes, stretching 10 minutes, tapos mental preparation also. Then recovery phase pa to. Then conducting a cool down, kanida yun. Pabalik ko na to ato ang heart rate gradually bababa, bringing back to normal state. So lactic acid and other waste products from muscle will be eliminated. So this prevents soreness and achieve recovery after training. Okay. Next is wearing appropriate attire, specifically shoes, di ba? This is what I always emphasize you every time maghatag ko sa inyong activities. You always wear shoes. I always give low scores sa mga students. If makabantay mo, gagmay ka ako hinatagan og score if makita na ako ang estudyante nga wala nagsapatos during physical activity nga mga performances. Because I always emphasize this one. Kaya you really need to know what's the purpose of physical education nga uniform. Ang PE uniform and wearing of shoes is very important. It was designed not just for fashion, but for safetyness of everyone. So most sports require the participants to wear special footwear in order to compete at their best. So the following are examples of sports type of shoes required from the athletes. Pag volleyball, it should be lightweight, para gaan lang siya because nagaambak-ambak man sa volleyball with gel, cushioning, and gum rubber soles. Cricketers wear footwear with spikes and rubber soles. Sa basketball, mostly ang sports scientists at the University of Utah pointed out that on average daw, basketball players switch direction every 2 seconds, pas-pas, kaya they need to focus on the training of agility. Okay, so therefore, their shoes should absorb shocks, provide ankle stability with the flexibility to allow players to move laterally. Kaya mostly, basketball shoes are mostly expensive and support the feet more than running shoes do. Sige, suot ka dira og ka ng baraton nga shoes or pang fashion lang nga shoes, di ba? Malangkat ng kan inigdula nimo. So golf mostly wear shoes with spikes and rubber soles. Track runner footwear with rubber soles. Bowlers wear boots with studs. I remember the last time during the palarong pangbansa that was held in Davao del Norte sa Tagum. Natoy taga-Talaingod na sa athletics, sprint, wala siya nagsuot og sapatos. The Sports Commission allows because dito man siya mas comfortable. Okay. Kaya lang, suggested na you should wear shoes. Okay, tight shoes can cause, pag guot imong sapatos, can cause 3 problems. The first one is corns. Kani, it also called as callosis. Then it is a result of the feet press hard against the shoes. Blisters can cause, if makita na to, usually ni pag bag-oy mong sapatos, wala pa ka-adjust imong shoes. Okay, bunions are the result of pressure from tight shoes. It usually occurs at the joint between the big toe and the foot, with the joint capsule becomes inflamed. Umaga siya. Okay, so the next one is the lesson 2, which is sports training and the aerobic training. Okay, we all know that aerobic training mostly enhances endurance of our body. So, type of, not a type, let's focus here. So we all know the difference between aerobics and anaerobic. Now sa aerobic training, type of training plans available are long, slow training, high intensity interval training, high intensity continuous training, and fartlek training. So slow, long and slow training is an aerobic workout type naman, which takes at least 45 minutes gikan sa low to moderate intensity training. So kanina training plan, a person does not exert such much and is able to cope with things, but it's like taking much time to reach the goal. Ang high intensity continuous training includes 20 to 30 minutes of sustained vigorous pressure. Mas intense siya. The technique for this kind of training needs repeated maximum work paired in between rests. All-out part is usually 20 to 30 seconds and productive rest is 30 to 45 seconds. Cardio exercises fall under this type. Fartlek training naman, program consists and structured mostly 30 to 45 minutes with a blend of maximum and sub-maximal activities. So kani siya, both programs aid in improving the cardiovascular system's ability. Tapos what we call stamina naman for active muscles effectively. Okay, so these are the sample training plans. Diba? I let you do FITT last time. Now this one is the sample half marathon training plan. Rest, then do fartlek run, long slow distance run, this one. Okay, so the best indicator for enhanced cardiovascular function is the maximum amount of oxygen that the body can consume during exhaustive exercise. Okay, that's what we call VO2 max. That's what we call maximum amount of oxygen. Okay. So this usually expressed in milliliters of oxygen consumed per kilogram of weight per minute. Okay, so mao na iyang unit. It allows how much oxygen ang nagamit nato and how effective our body in utilizing it. Sometimes, how kayo mo gamit ang mo utilize ang mga marathon, naga-join doon ang marathon an. 'Di ba? Mostly pila ka kilometers na ilang ginadagan pero dugay sila maot daghangin. Kaya na inana siya. Kaya pag magsayaw gani mi, mostly our trainers would suggest pag maginawa mi, dili gamiton ang baba. Kaya pag magamit og baba mas kala siya og oxygen kaya mas gamiton daw ang ilong ginawa para dili dali hangakon. So as the body adapts to the aerobic training program, the muscles become better in extracting oxygen from the blood and using it to generate through the aerobic system. So the average VO2 max for females is around 35 milligram per kilogram per minute. Okay. Milliliter, I mean, per kilogram per minute. While the average sa lalaki is 45. Usually, mas dago dyan sa lalaki ang maximum amount use of oxygen. Okay. Let's focus here on kanisha. Before initiating and implementing an aerobic exercise program, isa sa precautionary steps nga kailangan nato buhaton is that if a person suffering from health issues, kailangan before ka mo conduct og activities or sports program, you should request medical clarification. Kaya mostly the start na ginatawag nga PAR-Q questionnaire or PAR questionnaire. So naamo dito'y ansiran. Kaya sometimes I am mostly kana jud akong ginapa kuan before ta mag-perform ang physical activities. Kasi pag naay mga medical conditions na it doesn't allow strenuous, moderate to strenuous activities, physical activities. Mostly di na ako ginapa-join ang estudyante. Dagan ako siya other tasks to do that is related also with the topic. So kaya especially in sports, you should request first medical clarification from medical professionals. So the person may ask a doctor to oversee activities during the exercise. So that's prevention is better than cure. That's our main goal in kung sa UMS pa ng mga major social sciences nga major. Our motto there is no man is an island because human being is a social in nature. Here in physical education, the motto here is prevention is better than cure. We always emphasize this one as physical education teachers. We always emphasize this to our students na nasa huli ang pagsisisi. So as much as we can educate individual para malikayan ang mga incidents during physical activities, we will do our best also to avoid those. So ways to prevent sports injuries. Bago sa game, before mo magdula, remove unnecessary things that could get caught such as jewelry and other accessories. Magdula ka, naday kay mga sing-sing, bracelet, dira ang mga hait-hait. So probably makaigo ka sa imuhang mga kauban. So, you will remove that one. Wear appropriate sports footwear and clothing. Kung mo-basketball ka, mag-gown ka diha, makasabod para na matamakan na sa uban, so mas-slide na siya. So, you need to wear appropriate clothing with that. Check the right equipment. Find out if it's in good condition. Mostly, ang mahitabo, pag volleyball niya, wala available yung equipment, ang gamiton nga bola, basketball. So, it can cause soreness of your skin, especially sa wrist area ninyo. Kay lahi ang bola sa volleyball ug lahi ang bola sa basketball. Dili na siya pwede gamiton sa volleyball ang bola sa basketball. Kay bugat, sakit kay na, pwede na makabali sa inyong kamot. Okay. So check safety of the environment and possible risks that may cause danger. Basig na ay mga bildo, labi na pag outdoor activities, dula og volleyball, basketball. You check if na ay mga hait nga mga bato or mga slide nga area. Check on that. Bear in mind the correct technique in handling sports equipment. Kaya I let you know the basics, especially dribbling sa basketball, passing and shooting. It's necessary. Serving for volleyball, tossing. Kanang tossing, pag dili na siya ma-proper way perform, pwede siya makabali sa inyong fingers. That's why you need to know first the correct technique in handling sports equipment. So conduct a warm-up. This is necessary. Making sure that exercise the muscles to be used. Okay? So during the game, you need to see that you are playing with people similar to your size, strength, and skill level. Ayaw pakigdula atong mga amateur na or mga palarong pambansa player na. Ikaw kung beginner ka, makigsumbagay ka atong mga nakaano na. So probably mapildi jud ka. So need to level yourself also with other people nga kadula nimo. Follow the rules and standard of the game. Usually kana ba yung dili naga-follow og rules, sila ang mas prone to accidents. Use the correct techniques at the same time. Then sports officials, example ka ng mga referee, during the game may be needed to secure fair play and rules will be followed. Ang uban dili na mo sunod og referee, 'di ba? At the end of the time, the referee's decision is final and irrevocable. Okay. So afterward, conduct a cool down after the game. Give enough recovery of yourself. That's what we call cooling down. It's allowing yourself going back to your normal temperature or normal heart rate. Okay. Now, lesson 3. It's sports training and muscle strengthening. Okay, so this now focus on anaerobic exercises. This musculoskeletal structures. Remember talaga, pag muscle strengthening activities, anaerobic, hydrogen, and ana siya. Weightlifting ka na, pangainan. It's strengthening our muscles. So strength training includes power and a combination of speed and strength. So lessening the weights used during strength training is necessary to develop power, for it can help complete the action faster. So while speed is improved by working 40% of the maximum repetition, ang combination sa muscles o brain determines your strength, your power, and your speed. Okay, resistance exercise program should be adequately organized and taught for children and teenagers, especially in your ages also. The fitness specialist can supervise the workout to ensure the kid uses the proper technique. Kaya, mostly na may mga teenagers, they go to gym, pero it requires professionals to guide you. In such exercises, a child can lift a weight against the body, which increases their muscle strength. Okay? So there are techniques, especially in weightlifting. Probably, for example, pagunitan ninyo ang kanang bakal good sa dumbbell. Usually, anak magunit, di ba? This is my ball pen. So, usually, anak magunit. Ang kaning thumb, dapat naani siya sa likod. Dari Because, pag mabugatan na ka, dito ra ka buhi. Kaya kung dili pa siya, mabugatan ka, inigmuan na siya mabalik ni diri. So, dapat nani siya sa likod. Magunit ka sa so pag mabugatan na ka, dito ra ka buhi. So, mag-slide lang na siya sa imo. Kuha. Okay. Beginners should start at low loads. Ayo jud og alsa atong bugat dayon, optimizing the strategy. You know already, you will understand na if you will do in action. So the first one, hinahinay lang sa strategy, unsaon ni siya. Then, kaya din ni siya. With this strategy, kaya din ako ang 50 kilos until 70 kilos, until kaya na nimo ang 100 kilos, and so on. So excessive stress on the musculoskeletal system can cause resistance training, may lead to injuries if not properly carried out. Okay. So for novice lifter, prescribed load niya is 50 to 60% of its one repetition. So maximum niya for 8 to 12 reps. So now in improving your speed also, speed is time taken to move all parts of the specific distance, for example. So in physics, what is the formula of speed gani? It's d over t, tama ba? It's distance over time. So in playing football, kicking the ball over a long distance requires a good leg speed in chasing the ball. So playing golf requires driving the ball over a long distance, which requires fast arm and torso speed also. So na mga specific speed training. Okay, so shuttle run, sprint. Katong ibutang nimo tong shuttle, pwede pod bato, butang nimo sa A, then B, dagan na po ka B, then hanto balik-balik ka di until ma-finish nimo siya. So different types of resistance exercise provide unique way to build train muscles. So the whole program that includes the needed routines and exercise depends on the objective of individual. So the person can choose between strength, endurance, hypertrophy, or power. So strength program focuses on muscles capacity basically para ka-generate mo og more force or dagdag nga kusog. Continuous repetitive exercise characterize an endurance program. For example, push-up. So, sige kag push-up every day. So, di na ka masakitan. So, because your body adapts on the pain on it. So, a program naman on hypertrophy, it stresses on the increase of muscle size or mass. So, aspiring bodybuilders have undergo this program. Kaya mostly, it requires professional also because sometimes ang mga uban ani nagatake sila protein capsules or they eat more food that is rich in protein. So for example, you will go in diet pero dapat mag-ano kag protein. So mostly dapat imong kaunon is mga chicken breasts, egg, sa pa, kining fish, salmon. Okay. So that are examples of protein-rich na mga food. Beans also. Okay, so the muscle is trained by power program to improve motion speed. So there are two ways to think about power development. Una is para ma-increase nimo ang speed with the use of light resistance. Ang ikaduha or the other one it trains the muscle to generate force to create better acceleration and explosiveness using heavy resistance. Okay, this one, the variable load, repetition sets, rest interval, tapos exercise. Natag ginatawag during strength, endurance, hypertrophy, and power. So these are the suggested numbers or variables. Okay, injuries may happen when things are not done properly. You should take note with this one. Same goes for training and exercise. Ang chances of having an injury increases in lifting weights. Basically, if ang tao dili siya makatarong og handle sa kabug-aton or dili siya makafocus sa iyahang task. So medical professionals should clear a person out of prior ailments or disabilities to prevent acquiring new ones while completing the training program. Okay, so that's very essential. So sports training when bone strengthening. Bone strengthening or the other term for this one is flexibility. Okay, anong di man mabali mo ang bone. Kaya na siya. Flexibility is the capacity to which into uninterrupted pain-free movement of a joint. My professor once defined flexibility. It's able to move widely within your axis without maka-feel of pain. Madali ra na mabelan yung if you're not flexible enough, dapat ana nimo imong kamot tapos pag ana nimo siya tapos if maka-feel ka og pain diri pasabot kulang imong flexibility exercise. So you need to focus more on your flexibility. So common misinterpretation of flexibility, makaingon sila nga flexible ang isa ka tawo pagkabalong mag bridging or kanang common tawag ninyo bending, split. But basically flexibility is part of our daily lives. In mostly ma-develop ang flexibility through stretching, muscle stretching, bone stretching. So natay lesson static stretching, di ba? Mostly mga stretching programs ang kailangan diri sa flexibility. Static stretching nalang ka sa nagpundo lang ka. So it's tended to lengthen the muscles tendon. Very slow, so stretch lang ka. When we say dynamic stretching naman, it involves exercises that are repeated to increase movement range. So it requires many motions when the body move before any workout. Pag ballistic stretching naman, mostly kaninga stretching, ginagamit ni siya sa mga tawag ani, ballet dancers. Okay, so tapos because expand the muscles and tendons beyond their usual reach. So kung kanila yung capacity, dapat beyond para mas maabot niya. That's what we call ballistic stretching. So the rapid increase in the muscle tension will contribute the muscle contractions. Maanad siya nga yun ani lang iyang makuan. So through beyond reach nga exercise through ballistic stretching, hangtod maana niya hangtod man. Okay na, mas dali na sa iyahang maka-split or maka-perform. Because of this, caution has to be implemented as any rapid but untoward move may cause painful strains. So Let's focus on this one. Flexibility for sport performance. Flexibility is the capability of the joints and muscles to move in specific way. Here are some the aspects para ma-improve nato ang atong flexibility. To understand on biochemical efficiency. This one is more efficient pace in walking or striding. Pag coordination naman and agility, evident advancement and is passing and controlling. Tapos, aesthetic body lines and agility, like ma-determine na to ang skills like twisting, tucking, hiking skills improve to add more aesthetic performance. Mas nindot ang performance, mas nice siya tanawan. Inana siya. So beginners are advised to start with static stretching. Basically, mag-una dyan taan schemes because of their simple stretches. So it recommends muscle to be at warm at least twice a week after a resistance workout. In our subject before sa college, we do have one term gymnastics nga subject. So we are given 1 month para that's very impossible. Pero because of pressure, so we are given 1 month. So dapat after 1 month makabalo namin mag-split katong mga dili kabalo mag-split. So di ka kabalo mag-split with that time, you will fail the subject. So inana siya. So with the kining repetition of static stretching, tapos a combination with dynamic and ballistic stretching, we can achieve that one gradually. Or dili one night, overnight. So natay mga stretches diri, hurdler stretch. You can encounter hurdler action also in swimming, cheer dance, yung mga jumps, flow stretch, shoulder stretch, shoulder stand, back arcing ab stretch, so inani siya, heel stretch. So you can identify that one already. So I think that much on that much on the discussion. So I will stop muna the sharing. So I think that's all for the discussion for this week. Next week we cannot meet because it's holiday. So we can see each other on March na. Okay. So please do remember of your task. Submit also on March 4. That is your sa tawag ani kining basketball na basic skills. Okay, so thank you for joining. I hope you finished this one. And I hope that you have learned something in our discussion. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.